We have grown up always knowing that my great grandfather's name is something that we have to take forward, and that's not something that we take lightly at all.
Shivaji sir, Rajini sir, Kamal sir, their life has changed because of AVM.
I think it's amazing, like when we go back, right, and then we hear the stories about how these things happen. I mean, how will anybody not be happy when it's him? It's something that we're really excited by, and I think every interview people ask me this, and I say like his energy is so different from other people's. It's really very nice. I think that OTT is it's a very powerful medium also, because the kind of stories that you can tell are very different. My parents never made me feel like being a girl was a disadvantage. So we always challenged things, and we always felt that need where if someone tells you don't do something, if the reason is stronger than because you're female, then there's no way I'm going to listen. There are women who deadlift 70 kilos, 80 kilos and are doing an amazing job of it. So I think that those kind of things, I like to do things myself. Come from Karakudi, like running a departmental store, and then aim to do so much in life.
Hey Ritz viewers, in this podcast show we have the partner of AVM Productions, Ms. Aruna with me. Vanakkam, welcome to my show.
Thank you.
I was very happy to come here because AVM has always been our childhood memory. It's a nostalgic moment. So when we hear the name AVM Productions, immediately so much things pops us. And today I'm here. I think the vibe is so beautiful, and thank you for doing this
Thank
for us
you.
today.
It's lovely to have you.
I think more than uh, 150 plus films in multiple languages. And how does this feel to carry the legacy? I think more than 4 generations you've seen.
Yeah,
No?
we're the fourth. It's a lot of pressure.
The happy part?
Yeah, the happy part is that honestly, we're lucky that we also have a legacy that we're so proud of. You know, there's so many things where there's so much to say of what every person in every generation has done that inspires you or that you learn from, and people outside also, like how many people's lives they've actually changed or affected in a positive way. I think that really lucky.
And how does it feel for you personally to be associated with such a prestigious brand?
I think I grew up already there, right? So
Yeah,
if I
true.
had come in, I would have probably had a better answer for this. But we have grown up always knowing that my great grandfather's name is something that we have to take forward, and that's not something that we take lightly at all. So that always represents certain values in his name itself, and then you stand for those values, and you need to take that forward. But at this point, like I said, because it's been there since I was a child, it's like already in us.
Yeah.
We're brought up with those things, so it's not even like it's taught to you at this point saying, oh, we represent this. We already know that it just comes out.
Okay. So you've always told the value of the brand and great grandfather.
Yeah, always.
One memory which you can quickly share with us about Sir AVM sir.
Unfortunately, he passed away before I was born.
But you
So
might have heard
I've heard
stories,
a lot
no?
of things. One of the things that really stood with me is that he was so detail oriented right to the last thing. So if he walked around the studio, he used to actually have a record what each person has to do, and then those notes would be sent to each person.
Okay.
And you have to then take your note and then follow up on whatever the task is and report back to him. And if you haven't, he will call you back and say, I sent you a note yesterday, why have you not responded, why have you not done this? So he was extremely detail oriented from the top to the bottom, he knew everything.
Oh, it was like a email thing,
Yeah,
no?
yeah.
Oh my God! Without technology, I think he had this proper record. And Shivaji sir, Rajini sir, Kamal sir. There's no Collywood without all these legends. I think their life has changed because of AVM. How do you see this?
I think it's amazing, like when we go back, right, and then we hear the stories about how these things happened and how they were seen, and then the talent was like recognized at like even Kamal sir's very young age. To say that, you know, like replace the child who was supposed to be playing that role because he's going to make it big, and I know that. So those kind of things, like it's such a daily learning. For me, it's like that learning is always there, and also that, you know, we want to continue doing that and bringing new talent.
And I think your association with Rajini sir is still continuing. No, how happy are you for that?
I mean, how will anybody not be happy when it's him? Yeah, it's something that we're really excited by, and I think every interview people ask me this, and I say like his energy is so different from other people's. It's really very nice.
At what point of your life you decided, okay, let me get into the production thing? Because you might have had many options, no, to take up as your
Yeah, I wanted to do a lot of things, but I think that those were sort of like, when you're a child and you say, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But the thing that we knew we were always going to do was this.
Oh, really?
Always.
Okay.
So even when we were small, I think like when we used to finish school and we used to come here, we used to come some days to my dad's office. So we used to be around it in that kind of sense, but we always knew we were going to do it.
When did you feel the passion towards cinema or production? I think you need a immersiveness, no? So when did you get that?
I would say probably when I started, like when we started writing Tamil Rockers, because that was the time when we went really into everything ourselves. Till then, it was largely my dad running something, and we were there. We would like be a part of certain portions, but my dad did it. So I think that when we did this, it was like we were responsible for everything. And then, like day to day, especially when we started shooting and stuff, it was like, oh, I really love what I'm doing.
Tell us more about your childhood. Where did you do your schooling, college? How was it your childhood?
Childhood was quite strict. I went to school in Sisha. So that was like very academics oriented, but at the same time, we had a really great sport side. And Sisha is really
Were you a
like,
topper?
great with the sports.
Topper or average student? I guess you must be a topper.
I don't think I was a topper for sure.
Really?
I must have been. I mean, I would have got like, when you're a kid and you're a little playful, I was not that kid that really wanted to study. I wanted to be out playing. So I used to do things like we used to get like the mattresses from set property, get the carpenter to make like high jump poles, put the holes.
Okay.
So in the evenings when we had a break from studying, so we used to go like jump, high
Practice.
jump. It was always that kind of thing. Play cricket. We had a basketball, like just a net that we put up. So all this we used to do a lot of. Aside from that, studying was like, I think after seventh, you don't really get the seriousness of it so much. But because my mom was strict, we really studied. So we got good marks, but I wouldn't say that I was so excited about it to the level that I was one of the kids that would spend all my time doing it by choice. I did it because she made me do it,
You
and I'm
had to
very
do it.
grateful she made me do it. Yeah.
How did this sister thing was there? Because constantly there will be fighting, comparisons, and all. So how was that in your family?
I think when you grow up with like in a strict space, you tend to protect each other in that, right? Like because both people can't get away with anything. It's the same thing.
So your partner in crime.
Yeah, it was totally like that.
Okay, beautiful. And suddenly you said you were not so much keen on your academic part. After 12th, you had to take up a degree. So what made you to choose your core thing, and how did you come up? Okay, let's do this.
I actually always wanted to do psychology. Because in Sisha, they do give you the option of psychology. One of the groups is humanities, which has psychology. So that's what I had done, psychology, sociology. And then everybody, all in my mom's side of the family, from my grandmom to all my aunts, my mom, everybody's gone to Stella. So they wanted us to go to
Ritual,
Stella.
it's a family
So they
ritual.
wanted us to go to Stella, and there's no psychology in Stella. Both my aunts had done fine arts, so I did fine arts. So that was how that happened, and then I wanted to do costume design, so I went to the UK. I did costume design, then came back.
So after this, you ended up being a partner of AVM Productions.
Yeah, that we always knew though. As soon as we finished studying and we came back, actually during school also, we knew that once the day we finished school, that summer itself, we were like officially introduced into the office. And so during Stella, the entire time we were studying, we used to come back home from college around 1:30, have lunch, and then come to work and sit in script discussions with my granddad for serials.
Can you take us through the process of production, because we knew little about writing, direction, acting, and all, but this production is always, which we don't even know, because it's totally the scratch part, or the starting part, or the background part. Can you just take us through how does this work? What is your
So
process?
our process is firstly to identify the scripts that we're interested in. So a large part of that is reading. So we try to make it as fair as possible. So we have a submissions email through which everything comes. And even I, minimum 2 days a week, even I read the submissions box. So if there is something in that is really interesting, we will reach out and call people. After we receive the email and we read, which is either a deck or 2 to 3 page synopsis, if we like it, we'll call them for a follow up conversation. Then we do a narration. Then I'll read the bound. Or if there needs to be feedback, the scripts we're already incubating, we'll give feedback on, and then have discussions through the process of that. If we're done with that process, then we go into like finding a director if it's written by a writer separately who's not a director, and then building the team. The budgeting is a huge part of it.
I think the most difficult part also. Why? Because this is my perspective. You can just correct me. Creative part is this side. The math is this side. To bridge that is a very difficult thing. You can't compromise one for the other.
Yeah, yeah. But I find that actually because you're reading it from the beginning, you have a clear idea of what things are very intrinsic to the story.
Okay.
So oftentimes when the production team maybe disagrees that giving the director this amount of money is necessary, and the director says I need this for creative reasons, because I'm the person that knows both sides, I can say whether it's really needed for the story or not. So let's give it or not.
Okay.
That I think is the good part of actually having both, because then you know that if you don't do this element, is it going to be a big thing? Can it be replaced by something more cost efficient? Those things you have the room to discuss.
Okay. So afterwards, directly you'll be going on floor.
Yeah, yeah.
to the shoot. I think most important decision is in your hands, right? Because we see the end product, we see the film, we'll watch it and say if it is good working for us or not. To choose it from the very starting point, it should be like zero error thing, no? Because if if you make a mistake when by selecting the script which does not connect with the people, I think the whole thing is screwed. I think it's a zero error thing only I can call. So how do you take that pressure, or how does that moment be for you?
It is hard, but I would say my first line of filter is usually, one is, have I read this before? Or is it interesting? Because often we get mishmash of different movies that's come together. The second thing that we get is maybe something that might be a great story, but I wouldn't put on the banner.
Okay.
So if it's not going to be okay for the banner, then even if it's a great story, we'd pass on it. So that's the second part. The third thing I think is it's very tricky because the industry keeps changing, and the things that the audience is interested in keep changing.
Today will not be
Yeah,
interesting
so
tomorrow.
suddenly there's horror as a trend, and then comedy is a trend, and then again it mixes up on a daily basis. So that is actually very tricky, where we're constantly trying to ascertain that. A large part of it is also intuition.
And if we're talking about the change, I think AVM Productions has seamlessly navigated through all the changes, I think. So how is it going right now? How is the transition phase? Because there's multiple options. There's not only theater, we have OTTs also.
Yeah.
So
I think that OTT is it's a very powerful medium also, because the kind of stories that you can tell are very different.
you're keen on OTTs also.
Yeah, so the thing is, when you cater to theatrical, you're catering to a very certain
Limited audience.
yeah, limited audience, age wise, location wise, where it releases, how many people it'll reach for how long, all of those things. When you have OTT also, you have the ability to go very deeply into a story if it's a series.
Yeah.
And also, the interesting thing about writing is that those commercial things of, like the hero saves the day, you don't do that in OTT. So sometimes it pulls like you're telling a very everyday story. You have the power to tell the smaller everyday stories that really are powerful but often get missed in this format, could go in that format.
Is there any perspective change or strength that you bring into any script? I think there'll be a strength which you bring in, but talk about the perspective change. Not because you're a woman, I'm asking this to you, but I wanted to know the perspective of women. Will there be any change?
Yeah, definitely, I believe there's a change, because I also think that when men write about women's lives or women write about men's lives, we're not living each other's lives. So you don't know what the struggles of being a woman are, or those kind of things. Definitely, often a lot of the old ones are, men will judge whether a woman should be forgiven, or they will judge whether a woman's actions are okay. Those kind of things, or how much time she's spending in a day doing this or this or this.
Yeah.
Those are things which in today's day and age it's actually not relevant.
Yeah.
And any woman would be like,
No, I'm not this.
yeah. And often they don't have the choice to do that. Let's say somebody who's selling flowers, Does she have the choice to decide exactly whether she wants to go and sell the flowers, or whether she's not feeling well, or her kids need this? You have to do what your life is. Similar to how my job is stressful, that job is stressful. So many jobs are stressful. Even your job is stressful, right? Like every woman's job is that. There's so many roles that we're playing, but somehow I think that we have a long way to go in terms of capturing that on screen.
Okay. How keen are you in taking up this women roles to be written very strong, or there should be a meaning for them in the movie or in the series?
Yeah, I see. I grew up also in a way where my parents never made me feel like being a girl was a disadvantage. So we always challenged things, and we always felt that need where if someone tells you don't do something, if the reason is stronger than because you're female, like I might listen to it, but if the reason is you're female, then there's no way I'm going to listen to it.
Can you
Because
quote any example for which you were not allowed just because you were a
no, I
woman?
mean, forget parents. I'm saying it happens on a
From
daily
the
basis.
society only, I'm
Yeah,
asking. Yeah.
daily basis. Like you have to move this pot or this table. Somebody will say they will move it because they're a man. I'm like, I work out. You don't even work out, so it's actually easier for me to move it logically, right? So those kind of things are like, no, no, you leave it, I'll do it. And sometimes the reasoning is that okay, maybe they think that I shouldn't do it, but the other reason is also that it may be too heavy for you.
That's the concern comes.
Huh, yeah, but my point is why, if the reason is because it's heavy for females, there are women who deadlift 70 kilos, 80 kilos and are doing an amazing job of it. So I think that those kind of things, I like to do things myself.
Talk to me about your upbringing and how did that reflect in your work, professional decisions?
It was very strict when we were growing up. We were in that a lot of interviews where they ask me about cinema. I always say this, like we grew up in a very academics oriented space. So it was always that we had to study, then we could go to play. That's as far as life went. Yeah, if you didn't study, you couldn't go play. There was no concept of watching a movie or being on set. Or my dad had a job similar to how other parents had a job. His job just had different timings, and he was not there because he's at work. That's all. So it was not that he would come back home and talk about things, or this happened, that happened. I didn't know any of these things.
So we all perceived it like you will be playing in one set one day and you'll be playing in another set. You'll be visiting all these sets. I think that's the conception we all have. I think no.
I have done that, but nobody was in the set when I played it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
when we were like on Sundays, second Sunday, there's no shooting. So at that time, the sets that were there inside the studio, we used to climb into it, very tomboyish, like that, like boy kind of. You know what that's called, right? That's why I'm doing that, the air quote thing. That's what we used to be called in those days. But we loved playing. So we used to climb into the sets, and then there used to be kites that are flown in from somewhere. So take those kites out, and then we used to climb from one floor to the other floor within the set, and that kind of stuff we used to do, but not when people were around. We never used to go to a shooting set and play.
Did you realize that your upbringing had made you this strong, or made you decide certain things in your professional life?
I mean, now I realize it, because I was very academic oriented, I'm very detail oriented. So that means that we're very systematic in terms of if somebody gives me some information, there's a certain way that has to be put. And also, I don't need somebody else to do any of the jobs for me. While they might be there and it can help make life easier, if anybody is not there, we can do the job as well. So, like, be it from budgeting to like making a cash flow statement or anything, um, it means that I'm already systematic because my brain works that way. So I need it done a certain way. Sometimes it's easier to do it myself than even explain to somebody. So that's completely from that academic upbringing.
Okay, but isn't it pressurizing sometimes because to take up everything and do it all by yourself?
I try not to do that, because the goal anyway is that as a team we have to work together. It's just that there are certain situations where I find that people don't care that much to the last detail.
Correct, correct.
So until that point where in an urgent situation I might end up doing it. Otherwise, it's constantly that learning to get to that point.
Okay, but do you micromanage stuffs like, as you said, some people don't get to the last detail. So would you always micromanage stuffs?
See, I think that when you represent a big banner, right, we take that seriously till the last thing.
Okay, so that
And
micromanagement
yeah,
is
so
necessary.
yeah, it is necessary because at the end of the day, if you sign an agreement, you're responsible for A to Z of what you have signed. So if I have signed it and I know exactly what I have signed, those are the things that I will follow. Whereas if it's anybody else, they will go back home and it's a job. Whereas for us, we have that entire thing where we have to follow that back.
It's very important.
There's no other way.
This is a I find it so pressurizing in a good way, because you always have to think. How do you take a break from your work? That's the work-life balance. How do you do that?
It's very tricky.
Initially, how was it and how has it changed?
Initially, I think I maybe didn't do that great a job of it because we work the entire day. So I come in the entire time that everybody is here. Some days I might come in earlier, some days I might stay later. And that also because once I go back home, I'm still on 24 hours. So if there is an email or if there are calls in the night or even at shooting time, if decisions have to be made at 3:45 in the morning,
You're ready.
You make them, yeah. Okay. So I think those are the moments when you know that also the job is such that there are days which will be slower and there are days which are really packed. And on the days which are packed, there's no question because you run on adrenaline, right?
There's nothing
You're just
to think.
going.
Yeah.
The other days when you're reading and stuff, it does get a bit exhausting because you're taking in so much information. So I either have always on the laptop or on set, but even then on the laptop a lot. So that sometimes I find hard because like you get a headache or you have an eye strain by the time you go back home, or you just want people to shh because you're used to hearing so much stuff. That I think is something I try to like close my laptop. Now I try to close my laptop, just walk around the room, at least drink a cup of tea and come back. Or I try to, previously I used to feel guilt for like if I was leaving a little bit earlier to go for a workout. Okay. Now 2 days a week I leave at a certain time to work out, and then if I have to complete something, I will come back and complete it after. So those kind of things are more wellness. I think with age, everybody becomes more aware of the fact that in your life, you only have your body. The
True.
entire life, your body is the only
Health
thing
is
you
wealth,
have.
yeah.
So I think that I realized the difference in, I had a slip disc a year and a half ago. Okay. So those are things which, because of continued laptop use, right, I have a cervical slip disc. So these are things that you realize that if you really don't make the time to do the stretches,
It's alarming,
yeah,
no?
you don't make the time to do the stretches, or you don't make the time to look after yourself a little bit in those pockets, you won't make it through. So now I've like started prioritizing that wellness a little bit.
And what is one best advice you've got regarding production, maybe from Appa, or some random advices that would have just made, oh my god, yeah, this is what I was looking out for?
There's a lot of it, honestly. My dad is the person that I go to for anything, like also because he's managed so many things for so many years. And I think sometimes, especially in the beginning or even now, sometimes I might get stressed about something. And when I go to him, he will just be like, it's okay, that happens. It will fix itself. So I would say that it will fix itself sometimes in that moment. Like you can't always fix it in the moment. So I think those kind of things are very helpful. But in general, also asking for advice. He's seen so many people and so many technicians and so many artists and so many everybody. So there's always that wisdom is always there for me to go to.
Can you share one personal advice which he had told you or shared with you, which you took it very personally? And also share about the dynamics which you have with Appa.
Personal advice is so hard to think of one because I think most of it with my dad happens on a daily basis, those conversations. Okay. So let's say I've come back and then when we're having lunch, we have lunch together every day. So when we're having lunch, he's doing his side of the studio work, I'm doing my thing, then we meet for lunch. At that point, I would have said, this is happening, this is happening. It'll be those subtle things that he puts in, or maybe sometimes people are being a bit difficult, or there's some stressful thing that needs to work itself out. He'll have something to say that is a very small thing, but it'll just sort it out. And sometimes it's just like, I went through the same thing when I was your age. That's all you need to hear, right? Like that last week that happened to me, and he said, I was exactly the same when I was your age. And that's all I needed to hear at that time.
And Appa one side works really hard outside, and talk to us about Amma. I think she has to be given the credit also, right?
I think the thing is, so my dad and my mom both have very different personalities. So my mom was the person who, obviously my dad was working a lot of that, but my mom was the person who used to push us to study, all of those things. That's why I said I'm so grateful that I have that, because today it's not that I'm doing it for anyone or to make anybody proud. It's like those things you're doing because you don't know any other way. You want to make yourself better, and that she gave me that. I'm really really grateful for that.
And how happy is she now seeing you growing up and taking up so much
I think
responsibilities?
any parent will be happy also. There's so many situations. Both of them are happy that, we're responsible. We come into work the whole day. We take things so seriously to the level that even they are like, sometimes you need to calm down. Even my dad is like, it's okay. Like nothing's gonna happen if you don't do it today. Like go to sleep. So that kind of thing. Sometimes they put that voice of reason in that nothing's gonna happen. Just leave it.
Okay. I think you have a lot of inspirations near you. You can take so much things from them to just get motivated. Who's your, like, the person who you look up to? Who's your inspiration?
Immediately in the studio for us, I think everybody's immediate inspiration is my great grandfather. Even though he's not here and we haven't met him, there are endless, how much ever you search, there are endless things you can learn from him, and how he handled something, how much he did. And in a time where they didn't have that much resources, like nothing close to what we have now, and we're all much more educated. The amount he taught himself, and that like vision that he had, that really, like, I don't even, determination seems mild, but like that level of grit, right? Those kind, there's so much you can learn just by even reading his book or hearing something, listening to something, listening to stories about him.
Which story? Sorry to interrupt. Which story put you in an awe?
So the thing that I keep going back to is during the World War,
Okay.
like
Okay.
we, for us now, our experience of wars is like people posting things on Instagram or you seeing things in the news, right? You're very removed from things. Of course, the world was something that affected everybody in their actual space, but the fact that he found ways with such a lack of communication to move the studio, saying, okay, there is no electricity here, let's move to Karakudi and set up a studio there. And then when he brought everybody, like the carpenters and all from there, he set up, he bought AVM Colony. He set up a school for their kids to study. And then he set up AVM Health Center so that their families could go there. And everybody, like he bought cycles for everybody. There was insurance for all of them. He really took care of people who he brought along. And like that is something that's like your actual goal of like what, like you've lived a life worth living, right? In every way.
Yeah, it's not only him. It's like
Yeah.
the people around him.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful quality. I think everyone should try to inherit.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it's also like a human thing because the people who worked with him, his kids and his grandkids have worked with us. So there's always been a thing where everything is tied, and I think that's like when you connect with other people, that's life.
What would you ask him if you had a opportunity to meet him? One question or one thing?
I would ask him how he never felt fear at any point, right? Like there's so many decisions that he's made to like get people in Germany to produce records for him, go into cinema from a completely unrelated background, come from Karakudi, like running a departmental store, and then aim to do so much in life, and then actually go out there and do it despite. So he started the studio with two partners, and despite it doing profitably, they were not convinced that they wanted to stay in the film business. And when he left town for something else, they sold the studio. So they didn't even ask him whether he wanted to buy it, because they knew he'd want to buy it and keep it. So those kind of things, it can debilitate you or it can keep pushing you. So I think it's more of a character thing, that inherent insight, right? Like I want to understand that.
What is your biggest fear then?
I think honestly, I like losing my parents. For me, it's a very very core.
Otherwise, professionally,
Professionally, I think I'm learning now that we can't control a lot of things. So you can only do what you can do. You could put your heart and soul into a movie and it can still flop and it can still lose you a lot of money, and you just got to go ahead and deal with it. So I think that I'm learning to let go of the what if it happens, you deal with it. That I think is something I'm learning to.
I think that's the most difficult part. No, we all try to work hard to earn money,
Yeah.
and you're like working hard to put your money into something, and it should work. If not, I think the money will go. To accept that, I think it needs so much strength.
Yeah, and I also think so many people walk up to you and say, please make a big movie. And I'm always saying this to my team. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, make a big movie, sure, but what happens if the movie doesn't do well? And as a producer, it's so much more than the optics of what people think it is. The responsibility of it, the responsibility of putting a team together for that much, and then if every moving part is your responsibility, so there's so much more to it, and being a producer is a really hard job.
I know.
So I like those are things that I think.
And unfortunately, that hard work is not at all seen.
Yeah.
The As I said, that we don't get to see the work which you people do. At least we talk to directors once in a while. We talk to actors. We talk to the technicians. The production part is still, we don't even know what is happening. No, I think that's.
Yeah, I think the value of a producer has dropped a lot. People still can't function without them, but at the same time still don't want to accept that value. Previously, I think in my grandfather's time, to some degree in my dad's time, I feel there was a much healthier space where everyone valued each other. That I think has changed.
What is your biggest strength? And that strength helps you to thrive in this competitive.
My patience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, that's what it is. I think that um, it's very easy also to just like I feel like I can control a situation a lot better because I'm not as reactive.
As a person itself, you are like that,
Yeah,
or you?
as a person itself, I'm like.
Wow, that's a nice.
Because actually preserving relationships is a large thing, right? Like if you look at my granddad and SPM sir, for example, those are things which it's not that they wouldn't have been annoyed at each other at a point, but even the other day SPM sir was saying it's not that he hasn't fought with Kamal sir or Rajni sir. They have fought, but the minute they come out of the set, it's over.
Yeah.
Because you know what you were fighting for is for the betterment of the
creative
film.
thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that's the thing. Like I'm not as reactive, so I don't burn bridges fast because of that.
What is your future plans for AVM, and how are you planning to take it forward?
So of course the main thing is that you need to keep it going. Yeah. And as a fourth generation, there has to be something extra that you do, right? So those plans obviously I have, which I will not share, but they are there. Yeah,
Okay,
they're very clearly there.
Okay. So, what are the challenges which you're facing right now, and how are you dealing with it, or how are you facing those challenges?
I think one of the challenges of content itself now is
Picking up the right content.
not really picking up the right content, but I think that having the sensitivity to put out content that is genuinely uplifting and doesn't. I mean, the world is going through a lot right now, and I think that because of that, we have to be a little responsible of what we write, why we write, and also there are topics that are sensitive that are sometimes dealt with insensitively. Those are things, obviously, the landscape of what we're producing, when we're producing, why we're producing is a big part of that. The second thing is, of course, budgeting and sticking within that budget and making people understand that yes, you need to stick within it. You could set it, but it doesn't mean that people are going to be even interested in sticking with it. Sometimes we find that that's a very common experience. I think every producer would have had. Yeah. Not everybody cares about actually following your budget. So that's something. Those are all like genuine day-to-day challenges that we face. Otherwise, getting good scripts.
That has become a big challenge, no?
Yeah, it is. I think that also because we really want to groom new talent as well. And when you get it, it's like an ocean, and then somewhere in the middle, like you'll find these gems floating around. But yeah, I feel like also finding female gaze scripts is a bit hard.
Okay. But you're keen on that also.
I'm really keen on it because I feel like
It has to be told, no?
yeah, and also we have a long way to go in portraying women, a really long way to go. It's like when somebody's writing something and you're saying okay, and this is another reason why I like OTT, right? So the same situation, if you made it in a theater and you said there was a burning building, there was a child in it, and it's always the hero who's going to go save the child, and it's always the woman who's saying either help or saying like a at the max supporting. Yeah. But she's not running into the burning building, or she's not the primary person who has saved the child. But which woman would you find that wouldn't run into a burning building to save a child? I think that's like a theatrical audience isn't ready to see that. I don't know if that's the reason, but in OTT you can actually tell that real story. So I find that that's my main thing, that I find that when you watch something and you're an independent woman, you are always questioning why she's behaving that way,
Correct.
or
True.
why sometimes they hype them and give them a role, and say, okay, she's doing something that's intelligent, but then she does something silly like drops something. Like the guy is not doing that. It's like you're dropping the ball. Why would they drop the ball? That they carry a lot of things, juggle more things sometimes, often in life, and I feel like that documentation is completely missing.
Yeah, true. I think we need a lot of women writers, women directors, women technicians to just bridge the gap.
Yeah, unfortunately in Tamil it's a lot less.
Yeah.
We really do need to bridge that gap.
Yes. And talking about good content, good scripts, do you find there's a scarcity of writers? I think during Tata's period, and all writers were the upper hand. They were many writers. Kadai Ilaka was there. So do you think that plays a major role in this deficit of good scripts?
People sometimes have a talent to direct or have a talent to write, but then oftentimes they try to do both, and that becomes tricky. So if somebody has a really good script, but then they want to direct it, they may not understand that they don't have the experience to direct it also. But then they want to hold on to that script and say, only I can direct it. So that sometimes we face is a tricky thing. Also because I think back in the day, people were ready to learn that process and then come and do it. Now they want to go from 0 to 10 immediately. That is something that we find is an issue, because obviously there's money involved. You need to know, and this is such a complex thing. Our head of finance always tells me that this industry is 7 industries rolled into one. So that I find is a very tricky thing too. Otherwise there are talented writers, but otherwise sometimes women writers don't feel safe in rooms. I've heard that a lot as well. More writers rooms need to be more balanced in terms of women and men, to actually get around like a more balanced perspective totally. Otherwise there are writers, but then there are fewer writers that are repeat writers, so they keep writing for the same people, or even we have those writers who keep coming back, right? So that's fine.
I think the monetary benefits also matters a lot, right? Writers are not paid that much, no? That is also a concern, I think.
No, now I
Now
think
it is
there is
improved.
changing.
Okay,
Yeah, we
okay.
are writing things in other languages where the writers are very well paid. So I think that as an industry standard, if some things do lift, then it will lift. But that also needs to be, every producer needs to do it, every production house needs to do it, and every technician needs to want to pay their team that much.
One movie which you heard was supposed to be part of AVM, or one story which was almost there but couldn't make it for some reasons. It's shelved. It has not come out, and the team is feeling bad for it. Earlier times, can you quote one?
Not so much, because at that time and all, they used to find a way if they really wanted something.
Okay.
And I think that the world of IP to that level didn't exist, right? So either they used to buy the rights of a play, so they used to make it. A lot of that used to happen. So my granddad's time, the thing that he would even take films that have flopped and take them and turn them around. So he's bought rights of films that have flopped also. So I think that they always had a go around. I don't think it bothered them that much.
One movie AVM is so happy for taking up and doing it. Oh God, glad we did it.
So many, like I think that in 178, it's very hard to say that.
What is your most favorite?
My favorite is Anbeva.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
a
Cult
all-time
classic.
favorite. Yeah, all-time favorite.
We spoke about the pressure and the responsibilities. How satisfied are you? Like, I think it is not easy to step in and up the game, and you've taken that as a challenge and you're doing it. I think you're doing it successfully. You've started it successfully, because I've always seen the sense of commitment and the clarity whenever I see your interviews, or even when I talk to you now. How happy are you for yourself, like the self pat?
I mean, I know how hard I work. Um, if anything, I need to spend more time taking care of myself. I need to get better at that side of it. Um, but I am really proud of myself for what I bring to the table in that sense, because we're really particular about. I mean, I really am available 24/7 for like when we're working. So I think that those kind of things I am really proud of myself. Having said that, there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
It's
It's
like,
just the beginning.
Yes, exactly. It's just the beginning. So it's a daily thing. You can celebrate the little wins, but there are also learnings every day. It doesn't mean that I'm doing everything right. There are things that, like on every project, after the project, sit and write down what those learnings were, what we can improve next time.
You do that?
Yeah, every time.
Even the smallest of small
The
things?
smallest of things.
Okay. Can you share those learnings? Like, this was one learning which I am taking to the next
Yeah,
step.
because when you're making something, you can see that there's a bleed in one department. That's something that you need to put in. Maybe you need to put in an extra person to fix that the next time. So that's something that I have learned. There are times when you learn that even one small thing you need to add legally in a clause. And that's something that I would have made note of, that the next time round, for this person or this technician or this role, you need to add this. Those are things that, like,
Oh my God, I can't even imagine me sitting in your place, I think, because you must be there and you must be knowing so much things, no? Not only the creative part, the legal part, or the budgeting part, the max part, everything you should be like there and knowing it. How do you do that?
I don't know. There's no other way. I think that that's just part. When you're already doing something, there's no way to really say how, right? But like I said, there's a long way to go.
Okay.
So I see it as like an everyday learning. That's one of the main things about this job. You learn new things and you become better at it every day, even from your mistakes. And again, I'm really thankful that my granddad and my dad, and then like our head of finances, people here who've been there for so many years, our manager, they're all people that you can go to ask for advice, have a conversation, even sometimes just vent, and some like nugget that will really fix your headspace even will come.
Why I asked you, because I think some people, not all, think that your journey must have been easier because everything is already set. You can just come, take a chair and sit, okay, get this work done. No, it's not like that, right? So that's why I asked you.
It also can't be like that, only because at the end of the day, my great granddad's name is on my head now, right? Like that, it's on the line. So every action that you take in your everyday life depends on that. So every conversation I have with somebody is representing him.
True.
It's representing my dad, it's representing my granddad. So that seriousness is always there. You can't just like flippantly come, have some conversation with somebody and go away. It permeates everything, the entire thought process all the time.
Yeah. And while asking about the future plans of AIM, you said I have something great and you will know it later.
Yeah.
Can you just share anything or any lineups which we can expect sooner this year, maybe?
We do have things, but if you want to sign a non-disclosure, I'll tell you.
Okay, something. Can you talk indirectly about things or the line?
No, we are working on a bunch of, okay, so we're developing a bunch of really interesting concepts.
Okay.
There are things that are being
For theaters and
incubated.
OTTs.
So I mean, I'm not going to go into that, but we're developing a bunch of different things that are at different phases, different languages. So there's a lot of like exciting things that are happening that we're really like. I'm really proud that these are the stories that we're associating with, and they're more new age. They're things that at the same time we're really proud to put on the banner. So exciting, empowering things coming.
So this year is going to be a bang on year for
Yeah,
AVM.
we're like almost at 80, so now everything has to be bang on, bang on, bang on, right? Like, yeah.
Beautiful. I think, as I said, this place has got a vibe. I think it's so privileged and honored to be here at this place and talking to you, because AVM has created that mark. As I said, we all carry a nostalgic personal bonding with the brand.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for
Thanks
this
so
opportunity. And as I said, we're looking forward. When there is a great leader, I think everything else can happen so easily. And you are that. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much for this
Thanks
conversation.
so much. It was lovely.
Thank you.